A note to listeners, the following podcast contains content that may not be suitable for all audiences.
Noah, he is the type of person that anybody is able to get along with. He's typically going to be joking around, not taking things seriously. He's a teacher's nightmare, but also the favorite in class, He is typically going to be trying to be the center of attention, but not necessarily at somebody else's expense. I referenced this earlier, was that he would make a joke and make people laugh, but it was never at the downfall of somebody else. That morning, September 4th, I was heading to the golf course to go golfing, and then I get a call from my father that Noah had gotten into an accident or something on the highway. I didn't understand if it was fatal or not. I just assumed, we got to go to the hospital now. And then when I went to my dad's house, that's when he enunciated that no, he had passed away.
I mean, with all these medical people coming out and reading this report and coming to that conclusion, it definitely turns my mind more towards that. I've been praying this whole time that it was some kind of accident and these kids just freaked out and didn't know what to do, because to me that would make the most sense. Like, how could anybody do this, like purposely do this to somebody?
You are listening to Partners in True Crime. We are your hosts, Rob and Cindy Dorfman. Hi, everyone. If you're enjoying the podcast, please leave us a review wherever you listen to your podcasts, even if it's one word.
And please subscribe to our website, www.partnersintruecrime. Follow us on TikTok, Facebook, and Instagram to check out our weekly promos. We're also now on YouTube at Partners in True Crime. If you subscribe to our website, you'll be getting weekly emails from us and all kinds of promotions and things that we don't advertise on the podcast. Highway 81 passes over the Red River in Texas and slices right through Oklahoma's Tornado Alley, even though the asphalt is battered from the endless parade of semi-trucks making their way north. This stretch of highway outside TERRAL, Oklahoma, a town with a population just under 300, is desolate.
September 4th, 2023, was just an ordinary morning for one truck driver passing through TERRAL until he saw something odd on the side of the road.
The trucker and two other motorists pulled over to investigate and were shocked to see the crumpled, lifeless body of 19-year-old Noah Presgrove, curled into the fetal position.
Noah was wearing only mismatched shoes with a pair of black shorts folded up next to him, and his teeth were scattered across the highway. Witnesses immediately called the police.
The grisly discovery rocked this small town and launched an investigation that has ignited a firestorm in the media.
Police initially claimed Noah was the victim of a hit and run, but there were no injuries to his lower extremities and no evidence of debris on the highway that would suggest an accident. Besides that, why were his shorts folded up next to him?
As events leading up to Noah's death began to unravel, Noah's family pressured law enforcement for answers. Before his death, Noah had been at a party with his friends just yards away from the highway.
How is it possible that no one knew what happened to the popular athlete, who everyone described as a great guy?
Within days of investigating, law enforcement suddenly changed Noah's status to suspicious death.
But an autopsy report states that Noah was the victim of blunt force trauma, and Noah's family believes that he is the victim of foul play.
It's been 9 months since Noah's tragic death, and there are so many unanswered questions in this case. TERRAL, Oklahoma is in Jefferson County, just miles from Love County, where Molly and Colt went missing.
We're going to be doing a deep dive into Noah's case with his family and experts to try to unravel the theories that are out there and get to the bottom of this, because Noah and his family deserve justice.
No one deserves to be left to die on the side of a highway, and someone out there knows what happened to him. How can you live with yourself when you're hiding a secret like this? I know it can be hard to tell the truth, but what if that was you lying out there? Wouldn't you want someone to tell your family what happened?
Today we're going to speak to Noah's brother, DAILEN, and his aunt, ROBYN. So let's hear what they have to say. All right, so today we're here with DAILEN Presgrove. DAILEN is Noah Presgrove's brother, and if you're not familiar who Noah Presgrove is, he's been in the news quite a bit lately, and he was the victim of a horrible death about 8 months ago. And what we told you a little bit about in our intro, his medical examiner report came out just recently, and didn't have a lot of great things to say. And it looks like he might have been the victim of a really bad beating and was killed that way. But wanted to talk to DAILEN and find out a little bit more about what's going on. But what we want to start off with is just tell us a little bit about your brother, what he's like, and what he was like growing up, and what kind of person he was.
Noah, he is the type of person that anybody is able to get along with. He's typically going to be joking around, not taking things seriously. He's a teacher's nightmare, but also the favorite in class. He is typically going to be trying to be the center of attention, but not necessarily at somebody else's expense. I referenced this earlier, was that he would make a joke and make people laugh, but it was never at the downfall of somebody else. It was typically him just being the goofy person that he was. He's going to make people laugh and love him, whether or not they want to or not, and he's someone that is very inspiring. He is Noah, and he's a very unique individual. I haven't met anybody else quite like him.
Yeah, I mean, based upon the photographs that we've seen and some of the video from that party, it seemed like everybody loved him. It seemed like he was just happy-go-lucky, and he had a mischievous smile, but he also looked like he always had a good heart.
Yeah, for sure. He's very outgoing, and he was very athletic. He's just someone that you would typically picture someone being present in a public setting.
Well, we're so sorry for this horrific event and the loss that you guys have had. I can't even imagine what it's been like for you. Can you tell us a little bit about what the last time that you saw him? How was he? What was his plans? How did he end up at that party? Did he know those people really well? A little bit of background on that.
So my relationship with Noah was very, very odd, especially since we're brothers. We lived in separate homes. We grew up different lives. So I really didn't get to be that big brother that I should have been. Whenever I graduated, he was just coming into high school as I was off in college. I would reach out to him when my summer breaks down. I would give him one-on-one lessons in wrestling, trying to just build something with him. And then my first year after graduating college, I came back and taught at Comanche, where he was finishing up his senior year. And we spent that year kind of getting a little bit closer, and I tried being that older brother for him. The last time I got to see Noah, he was over at my parents' house, and we're just asking him what he wanted to do after graduating, and he was indecisive. He was kind of wanting to lean more into the military side, taking a year off, and I'd given him some golf clubs because he said he wanted to get into golfing. The people that were at that party were for sure those that were his friends, people that he grew up with, people that he finished his high school career with. And it was very common for him to go to those sort of public events. He was very outgoing, very popular, and always looking to have a fun time.
So when did you first find out that Noah had passed on?
So that morning of September 4th, I was heading to the golf course to go golfing, and then I get a call from my father that Noah had gotten into an accident or something on the highway. I didn't understand if it was fatal or not. I just assumed, we got to go to the hospital now. And then when I went to my dad's house, that's when he enunciated that he had passed away. And so that was the beginning of a very long car ride to where he was found.
What were you told in the beginning phases, like when you went to the hospital? And I'm sure there was a lot of questions.
So we didn't go to the hospital. We went to this little town called TERRAL. It's the very last little bitty collection of homes before you get into the Texas area, and so we were driving down to there, and right on the highway is where he was found. And when I showed up there with my dad, Noah's best friend and his father were already there. The Jefferson County Sheriff was there, and a service truck driver was there. And there was a very long pause of just disbelief that he was just laying there.
So you actually went to the scene?
Oh yeah, I went to the scene with my dad. Noah was covered up in a sheet that was draped over him by the service truck driver. The sheriff was very adamant on just not allowing us to see him without the sheet covering him. I assume that was just him wanting to protect us from seeing someone like that. And as we were sitting there, I remember me and my dad just looking at the way he was laying and everything, and we were very quick to understand that this was not a hit and run accident. That it didn't make.
Is that what they were saying?
The Jefferson County Sheriff and several others that were present all were trying to claim that it was a hit and run. But me and my dad, and then later my older brother showed up, and we were just, it didn't make sense for it to be a hit and run. People don't get hit at that rate of speed by a moving vehicle and end up where he ended up. And the evidence there proves that it was not a hit and run. So
hold on one sec. Who discovered his body?
That's still kind of in the air on who's the first person on the scene. I've heard that it was a semi truck driver. I've heard that it was multiple semi truck drivers, that there was one or two of them. So trying to piece together the exact timeline of when everyone was found is still kind of up in the air to us. But I'm pretty sure that OHP, after gathering all the intel that they've gathered, know who was first on scene and who was the first responder on scene, because the sheriff, from what I understand, Jefferson County Sheriff, he wasn't the first responder on scene. That there was another one from TERRAL that was there. So hopefully they've gotten the information from them and are able to kind of piece together the events that led up to me being present there.
TERRAL being a local police officer department?
Well, TERRAL, I don't even think TERRAL has a police force. TERRAL is the little town, and I think all they have is a fire and rescue volunteer team.
Got it. What we want to say?
Well, I'm just curious as to what evidence they had to say that this was a hit and run. Like, what was their theory?
It baffles me as well. I don't know if maybe they just seen a body on the highway and just assumed that it was a hit and run, because seeing the body laying there, seeing Noah lay there, and the teeth, there was no car tracks, there was no broken car parts, there was nothing indicating to a civilian like me that has no expertise in this stuff. It was very blatant to me that this doesn't make sense for it to be a hit and run.
So you think his body was just dumped? You think his body was just dumped there?
It had to have either been dumped there, or the event that led to his death happened right there. But I believe the former is what kind of happened.
How far was it from the place where he was partying?
I believe it was about 1.5 miles.
So close.
Yeah.
Really close.
Yeah.
How many people were at that party?
It was a 4-day party. So over the span of 4 days, there were 50 or so kids there. The night that happened, I believe there was somewhere around 20 or 30, could give or take 10 or something. But there was only maybe less than 10 kids that stayed the night. So if going back on the timeline of things, again, that's still up in the air. But from what I understand, there was, from the time that Noah went missing to the time that he was found, there was only a select few kids present at the party.
Mm-hmm. And what was that time span from the moment he went missing to the moment that he was found?
Again, it's still up in the air. I've talked to a couple of kids after 8 months of waiting for answers. We kind of got impatient, and we started just opening the doors to anybody who was willing to say anything. And during that time, I talked to a couple of kids, and the time frame still doesn't match up. Everyone's story, and I get it. After 8 months, people's stories kind of might change a little bit. Other times, again, it sounds like they're sticking to a script. But as far as actual timeline goes, he went missing anywhere from around 3:30 to 4 o'clock, and was found around 5 or 6 o'clock.
So not that long.
Yeah. Now I know you're speaking to the authorities tomorrow, and I'm sure hopefully you'll have more answers. But it's been released. The medical examiner's report has been released, and I wanted to, if you can, kind of talk us through what they discovered and if that supports what you think may or may have not happened.
Well, I know when I looked at it, and again, I'm not an expert in anything regarding this stuff, but we have a family friend who is. We've sent some of the stuff to her, and we're trying to work towards getting some other information released to send to her to get a second opinion on it. But from just me looking in on it, it continues to reinforce the idea that it was not a hit and run. The damage was severe enough that it cancels out the notion that it was an ATV rollover. That's one of the claims, that he had rolled over in an ATV, and hours later the injuries finally subdued. But that doesn't make sense with the injuries that were on there. You don't get into a rollover accident and have a fractured neck and a broken skull and multiple blunt force bruising across your body, and then walk a mile and a half down the road 3 hours later after the accident. That doesn't make sense. But
yeah,
it was
he also had a punctured lung.
Yeah, and then another one was that if you get hit by a semi, right? One of them was claiming that he got hit by a semi. Okay, well, if a semi is going 75 miles an hour and it hits a body, that body's going to have a lot more damage than what was shown. So again, the report just continues to reaffirm that something more sinister occurred.
Yeah. Hold on one sec. This family member that you sent this to, can you just clarify, is she a medical examiner as well?
Yeah, she's a medical examiner, and she was very, very kind enough to want to look into it for us and help us out in a way that she was able to.
What was disturbing was to me that he wasn't found with his clothes on and he had two different shoes on. Is that accurate information? Robyn's here.
And it's weird because again, like I didn't get to see the body, thankfully, but at the same time, I almost wish that I did so I could answer that question more truthfully. But when the highway patrol and the sheriff came and talked to us the morning of, they stated that he was naked, and he only had those two shoes on. Now, again, I've heard reports that he wasn't naked when he left the party, or he was wearing a different set of clothes when he left the party. So it just, again, everything is very conflicting on the stories.
Yeah. Robyn looks like she's joining us, so we're going to loop her in right now.
Okay.
Hey, Robyn.
Hi, Robyn.
We're so
that's okay.
That's okay.
We're so sorry for your loss. This is so awful, this story. It was heart-wrenching reading about this. And I know someone has gotten in touch with me a few months ago about this, and we just didn't know if we could help or not. And then when people just kept saying you have to talk to them, we were like, oh my God, they haven't gotten any answers yet. So we were like, we have to help them. So I'm so sorry.
Yeah. I mean, yeah. Dailen's just been kind of giving us up to speed on certain things about, just about Noah and the medical examiner's report and basic facts about the case. He did tell us that you're going to be meeting with OHP tomorrow and be interested to hear what they say. But just wanted to, Dailen was nice enough to kind of give us a background about Noah. Tell us your relationship with Noah and tell us a little about, what Noah meant to you and who he was to you.
Noah's my nephew. I met him when he was at his second birthday party, actually. It was just before he actually turned 2, but his second birthday party is the first time I met him, and then I've been in his life ever since. I married his uncle, and he was, he wasn't my kid, but he was like one of my kids. He spent so much time with us. When he was younger, we lived up in Norman, Oklahoma. He would come up there and stay with us all the time. I always wanted Madison to come too, but Deborah, my mother-in-law, she liked the girls for sure. So she always kept Madison and I always kept Noah. And then when we moved down here, he and my oldest, they're the same age. We're in the same grade. They spent a lot of time together, but as they grew older, their interests kind of diverged and they kind of didn't hang out as much. But my youngest one and him became really close. And so he was just, we took him anywhere we could take him. Anytime we went anywhere, we took Noah with us, unless he just absolutely refused to go. And he was like one of our kids. We loved him. We spent so much time with him. We did family dinners. We still do family dinners every Thursday at my mother-in-law's he was just a light in our life. Like, I know that sounds great or cliche, but he really was. He was just hilarious.
So we were just asking Dalen where he was when he heard the news. Where were you when you heard the news?
So me and my husband and our kids, we were up at Rocklahoma in Pryor, Oklahoma, and Noah was actually supposed to go with us. And it's like an all weekend event. It starts on Friday, and then Monday morning everybody gets up and leaves, and we drag the camper up there. We didn't make it up there Friday because my youngest son, he's on the football team. We had a game that night, and so Noah was at the game with us, and that's when he decided he didn't want to go. He was wanting to bring one of his friends who was 16 to come with us, and we had an extra ticket, but I didn't know that kid's parents. I didn't feel comfortable taking that kid to a rock festival, not knowing his parents, and so I told him no, and he just ultimately decided he wanted to stay and hang with his friends.
So was that the weekend of the party and everything?
Yes. Yeah.
So when you heard the news, first of all, how did you hear the news? Who told you? And
So
what was your first thought?
Victor, Dave's dad, he called me, and we were all asleep because it was like 6 a.m. And I actually had my little smartwatch thingy on at the time, and I was looking at it later, and like you can see where I got woke up and my heart rate just jumped up so high, and it was shock. It was just massive shock. And then we had our kids with us, and I was trying not to let them know the extent of what was going on. I told them that Noah was in an accident, but we had a 4-hour drive back, and I didn't think about social media. And so on the way back, they got on social media, and that's ultimately how they figured out that Noah had passed. And I didn't think about social media, and so that just breaks my heart. And so we've got the 4 of us in the car driving 4 hours hauling a camper, and everybody's losing it. It was hard.
Yeah.
So.
That's awful. I'm so sorry.
Yeah. So we were talking a little bit about the medical examiner's report and how you guys sent it off to another family member who's an ME as well, and they're taking a look at it. And there's been a lot of news about that medical examiner's report and other doctors who are looking at it as well, and they all seem to be coming to the same conclusion that there was he didn't die from getting hit by a car or a rollover on an ATV or side by side. But I'm just curious. I mean, I think you guys both are on the same page here, and you're going to find out more information. But what is your gut telling you, based upon what you know so far after 8 months?
I don't want to be accusatory. I mean, with all these medical people coming out and reading this report and coming to that conclusion, it definitely turns my mind more towards that. I've been praying this whole time that it was some kind of accident and these kids just freaked out and didn't know what to do, because to me that would make the most sense. Like, how could anybody do this, like purposely do this to somebody? But it is hard to not listen to all these medical people say otherwise. So I haven't fully formed an opinion, and I don't want to fully form an opinion until OHP really discovers what happened, and OSBI too. But I can't imagine it. I can't imagine that somebody would just brutally do that to Noah, to anybody. But I know it happens, but these are teenagers, and young adults. Like, how can anybody do that?
Yeah. Do you know whether or not, because we've another case that we're dealing with in Oklahoma right now, we've been dealing with since 2018. There was also a party this weekend when they went missing, and at that party wasn't just the young people. There was also other people that weren't so young and that were older that were at that party as well. And so just curious, do we know everybody that was at that party? Have they tracked them down and have they been questioned, or have you not heard anything about that?
So I know there was quite a few people in and out of the party, and I know that quite a few of them had left, prior to this event. I'm not exactly 100% sure who all was there,
Skeptical about custom beauty? I get it. My feed is flooded with customize this, personalize that. Everybody's promising to fix my split ends, my dry skin, and my fine lines. And you know that all these products I buy, none of them have worked.
Lots of products she buys.
But now I'm so excited because I get to share this with you guys. We have partnered with pros, and when they say custom, they actually mean it. It's not a gimmick. Your formula does not exist without you.
And each and every bottle of Prosed custom hair and skincare is made to order, personalized with a unique blend of naturally powerful and proven effective ingredients to meet your needs.
They have this in-depth consultation that analyzes 80 factors for a complete view of you, your life, and your beauty goals.
Wow, that's a lot. And they get personal. Pros gets to the root of the problem. They cover everything from your diet, concerns, to exercise and stress to uncover what's impacting your hair and skin health.
I love the fact that they even asked me for my zip code to assess the hard water, because that's a terrible problem in my neighborhood. And how, oh my God,
Hard water.
right?
We have really bad hard water.
Really bad. So, and then they also tell you how this impacts my hair and my skin. And then they recommend an entire routine of truly personalized products that were not created until after I placed my order. So there's nothing pre-mixed, nothing off the shelf. And I know this from experience that their one-of-a-kind formulas equal 1 in a million results. Since I switched to Pros, my hair is shinier, stronger, fuller, and my skin is not dry. And I live in the desert. And everyone is noticing.
Yep, I noticed. You look fantastic.
Thank
I
you.
can definitely see how Cindy's hair has grown so much since she has been using Pros. But don't just take our word for it. In a third-party, double-blind, dermatologist-supervised controlled clinical study, the gold standard in research studies, Pros proved personalized works better than off-the-shelf alternatives.
Try it for yourself and get the healthiest hair in 30 days or your money back. Pros is so confident that you'll love the results that they're offering our listeners an exclusive trial offer so you can see the difference custom care can make. You gotta try it.
50% off your first subscription order at pros.com/PITC.
That's pros.com/PITC for your free consultation and 50% off your one-of-a-kind formula. Pros.com/PITC.
Whenever it actually happened, I was told by some of the kids that it was the core group of friends, the friends that hung around with Noah, and then the girl who was throwing the party and her sister, and then one of their friends. So that puts it at like what, 12 or 13 people, Dalen? I'm not 100% sure. Dalen he's been doing a lot more legwork when it comes to investigating himself than I have, because I'm old. So it's it's harder for me to get in and talk to these kids because I'm just older. They don't want to talk to me.
What do you think, Dalen? What have you found out?
There's, I think I have it all written down in a notebook, but I believe off the top of my mind, I think there's 7 or 8 kids that stayed the night that were present up till, I think my last look at it was about 3:30. There's a group of kids that left the party right around there, but the ones that stayed up until the morning of, there was about 7 or 8 kids.
And what did they say?
Again, like there's some of them that claim they were asleep the whole night. There are some of them that claim that he just took off walking. So it's really hard to know what exactly is the truth, because again, their stories all conflict with each other. So it's really kind of hard to find out what the truth is in it, because as I'm comparing one story to another story, raising my eyebrow thinking, well, this totally contradicts the 3 points that this other kid told me. So it's hard to really nail down what's true and what's not.
Mm-hmm. Did they? I can't remember in the medical examiner's report, they did a toxicology and to find out if there was any kind of drugs, and I would imagine alcohol was in the system because it was a 4-day party. But is there anything else in this system?
Yeah, just alcohol.
Okay. Did he have any kind of rivals or enemies? It doesn't sound like it, but was there anybody that you were aware of?
Not that I know of. Dalen actually worked with people who would know more. Yeah,
again, like when I was talking about him, he's the kind of kid that teachers would probably hate, but also love at the same time. And as a teacher at that school, I get where the teachers are coming from, but also hear them talking about it. And they'll laugh about the stuff that he did, and so will the kids. Even if a kid thinks that Noah's obnoxious at sometimes, they still love him. So it's really hard to fathom that somebody truly hated him and even hated him enough to do something like this.
Yeah.
Did he have a girlfriend?
You want to fill that one?
He had a girlfriend at the time, but she
Was
wasn't.
She wasn't at the party. Yeah, I think I heard that. Well, I mean, you're running, and it's hard for you right now. I mean, because for 8 months you guys have been sitting on the sidelines waiting for answers, and I know that's super frustrating when you want things to move faster. But it sounds like, DAILEN, you've been doing some homework yourself, which is, I think it's very important for families to do, even, not interfering with the investigation, but I think it's important to kind of do your due diligence for your brother and your family member, because you never know what's going to happen. And in like those first crucial moments during the investigation, those first 40 hours are usually the most crucial. You have the most evidence. So when you were there at the scene, was there anything else that looked strange to you? And what was, and also what was being told to you?
Again, the strangest part was that they were super, super, super quick to rule that it was a hit and run. I mean, that was the sheriff, the people that were there, they're just immediately claiming that it was a hit and run. It explains the shorts being off, all this kind of stuff. So that was the weirdest part of it. And then, days and so forth later on, it became weirder that they finally classified it as a suspicious death whenever the on-site medical guy came and he saw the injuries and he said, well, this is suspicious, so we're going to have to do further investigation. And then that line followed the case for a while, that it was just a suspicious death. And then it again was weird that they weren't doing anything about the kids that were at the party. They weren't doing anything about trying to investigate the house. But again, this is me as an outsider who has no expertise in anything medical, anything law, or any of that. So I'm just trying to be faithful that everything is going right on that side of things.
What made you believe that they weren't questioning the kids and they didn't go to the house and all that kind of stuff?
Well, I know they questioned the kids, but as of recently, from other people that have been helping me out with this case, there's, I think, 7 kids that were present the night of that left hours earlier. So you say just on, this may not be right, but say Noah left at 3:30 or 4 o'clock. The kids would have left around 1 or 2, and there's about 7 or so of those kids that haven't been interviewed at all.
And when you say someone else is helping out, who else is helping you out?
I don't know if they want their name on here, but they're very adamant on Facebook. We have actually 3 PIs right now, Kathy Bingham, Krista, and this guy named Bob. But there's also some people that aren't affiliated with private investigation that are also trying to help out and just hear what's being told around town, or what some of the kids are willing to say, and then they'll come up to me and tell me this stuff. And the guy that I'm referring to, he has family members that were at the party, and they're the ones that have told him that they have not been interviewed at all, and they were present the night of.
Oh, that's interesting.
Well, it's good you got boots on the ground, because that's key. In addition to the police officers, because they unfortunately for them, they have a very short bandwidth right now, and lots of cases to deal with. So it's good to have other avenues of people coming out and people reaching out to you. And I would definitely keep on encourage you using social media and keep it in the air. So that's the biggest thing, and let people know that you need answers to this, because you definitely need answers. I mean, it doesn't make sense that he would be found with no clothes and with mismatched shoes and the types of injuries he had on the side of the road. I mean, did they have explanation? Their explanation is why he didn't have any clothes was because of the accident.
Yeah, they claimed that, again, going back to the hit and run theory, was this is law enforcement claiming that the reason his shorts came off is, I guess it's very popular whenever you get hit by a vehicle that your shorts will come off. But the thing about that, though, is that he had Hey Dude like slipper shoes on, right? So if you're getting hit by a car going 75 miles an hour and your athletic shorts come off, well, surely your slippers are going to come off as well.
Yeah, that doesn't make any sense. We've
doesn't
dealt
make
with
any
a lot of forensics people. We've never heard that before.
Yeah, that doesn't make sense.
That doesn't make any sense.
But when you don't know, I guess they start kind of speculating.
Yeah.
And a lot of times they're trying to solve it very quickly. And finding a body on the side of the road, and the natural inclination is, oh, he was hit by a car, or he was hit by something.
But those injuries are not conducive to just being hit by a car. I mean, those were very, very brutal injuries. I mean, I read that ME report online. It doesn't make sense.
Yep. Yeah. The family member that's looking at it for us, it's awful to even think about it. My mom will stay up at night thinking about all this stuff, but she told me that the injury to the neck, the fractured neck, the type of fracture that it was, means that there had to have been a lot of force applied directly at that angle. So much force it just doesn't make sense for a hit and run. Say that you got hit by a car. The car's Noah's tall. How's his head getting hit, but no damage to his lower body. And how is he getting hit at a direct angle at the neck like that? It doesn't make any sense other than someone applied that amount of force to his neck.
Well, I mean, he was a very good-looking young man. He looked like he was very popular. I mean, what we've learned with some of these cases is that alcohol and substances can bring out these horrific acts that you would never imagine people could do. Did
you know that did he ever get any, I mean, it's high school. I mean, did you ever get any fights that you know of, and scraps?
When my first year in college, I remember Noah's, I think, freshman year, that he had gotten into something in the locker room. But I mean, it was very common kind of things, just athletic boys doing stuff that, all that testosterone fuels into rage, and then 10 minutes later they're best friends again, so.
Right.
Yeah. So, but he wasn't a habitual guy who would get into fights. I mean, even though he was in football, and you said he wrestled, and so.
He liked to fight around with his cousin. He had a cousin that he hung out with all the time. And they weren't seriously fighting, but they would wrestle each other all the time. They would, just sit there. And I mean, anywhere, we couldn't take them anywhere.
Yeah.
The two of them,
Roughhousing.
knock it off, So he liked to wrestle, but it was never anything serious. It was just playing around. He always won. So.
Yeah, he looked like a tough kid.
Yeah.
Tough and confident, and that's usually, unfortunately, sometimes that attracts bad energy, because people don't. He was a good-looking kid, and he was tough. He was athletic. I mean, he had a lot of those qualities that some people get envious of.
Mm-hmm. It just seems that if there was only a core group of people left, those kids know more than possibly what they're saying. I mean, you're at a party, you see one of, this is a cute guy, he's drunk, he's walking off. I know the girls, they go after him. Like, where are you going? What are you doing? I can't imagine that they just kind of let him walk off by himself. It just doesn't feel right to me. My gut's telling me that's probably not accurate.
I don't think that all of the kids know. I don't believe for a second that everybody, the handful of them probably do.
Right.
I said, first and foremost, we just want to know what happened.
Yeah.
You need to know what happened.
Yeah, it's a tragedy. It's awful.
Yeah. I've been talking to my wife a lot about it, and I mean, in the grand scheme of things, I don't really care about the punishment. That's not really in my hands. There's nothing that I can do about that. And again, whatever law enforcement does with it, that's on their hands. Whatever God wants to do with it, it's in his hands, that kind of thing. All I want to know is what happened.
Yeah. So you said you have people helping you on the ground, and you got 3 private investigators. That's amazing. And you don't have to divulge that, but do you feel like what they're doing is helping?
I feel they've collected a lot of stuff. There's definitely a lot there, and it's very informative. still nobody's telling us what actually happened, but kind of piecing the story together, it's definitely helping for sure.
Have you been able to put together any kind of a timeline? Not yet.
Really?
So Kathy, the main private investigator who's been on this case for the past 8 months since the very beginning of it, she's kind of trying to build a timeline, but again, her hands are, it's almost tied because there's only so many things that a private investigator can do without the aid of OHP or law enforcement or something like that. But off of her accounts of it, a couple of things happened throughout the night. Apparently around 3 o'clock, 3:30, Noah gets into an argument with a girl. Shortly after that, he leaves, and then the best friend wakes up that morning and goes somewhere after 5 o'clock, goes and finds Noah, comes back and tells everyone there that he had found Noah on the side of the road. But again, from what I understand, OHP and OSBI has gotten phone records, they've gotten phone calls, they've done a geofence, all kinds of things that Kathy, our private investigator, doesn't have access to. So what I'm hoping is that they have a more accurate timeline than what we have.
Yeah. Well, I guess you'll find out a little bit more tomorrow night when you speak to them.
Hopefully.
Yeah. And when was the last time you spoke to them? How often have they spoken to you about this, keeping you updated?
Kathy, I talk to all the time. I talked to her just like an hour ago. I usually talk to her multiple times a day. I have not talked to Bob and Kristen. They just recently came on, and so DAILEN's the one that has coordinated hiring them. So,
But those are the private investigators.
Yeah.
When was the last time that you spoke to OHP or OSBI?
I spoke to the OHP investigator. I've actually spoken to him today. I usually speak to him a couple of times a week. There was a period of time where there was a few months that we didn't hear anything, and then he really got more proactive in giving us updates in April again. And so I usually speak to him at least 2, 3, 4 times a week.
Okay. That's good.
That is good. That's good. That's the way it should be. And, like I said, we've had our experience with law enforcement in Oklahoma on the other case. And out of all the agencies we were dealing with, OHP seemed to be the most transparent and helpful. So hopefully they can get to the bottom of this. And we know some of the people that are working on this case. And we can vouch for them. And hopefully they can kind of steer you guys through a resolution and find out what happened to Noah, and also find out if there was any foul play, that the people were involved, that they take responsibility for that. I just find it hard to believe. I mean, the 2 things you told me, DAILEN, is that, there was a fight with a girl. Do we know what the fight was about?
Some of the kids claim that it was about where Noah was going to sleep that night. And then again, if you go back to the rumors, it was something deeper that happened, the previous nights when Noah was there. So just going off of eyewitness accounts or anything like that, it just seemed like an argument on when or where Noah was going to be able to sleep that night. And when the girl and him disagreed on it, that's when he decided to leave.
Yeah. Yeah, still so many questions, and it doesn't sound like, based upon the ME's report, that if he was attacked by someone, it wasn't just one person. It seems like, for that kind of, because it sounds like he could probably handle himself pretty well if it was one person that was another high school student, or recently graduated. I can imagine that, he'd be able to at least defend himself to the point where he wasn't getting beaten that bad, or at least get away. But that sounds like it was a full frontal assault, and they had him down and they were beating him up after he was unconscious.
Do you know if that girl had a boyfriend?
I don't personally know the girl. That wasn't someone that I've talked to or knew beforehand or anything like that.
I've met her, but I don't know her well. And the last time I saw her was probably a year before this. But I wasn't super impressed with her when I'd known her for the short period of time.
Yeah. So,
Did she go to the same high school?
No,
Was she the same age, or was she older or younger?
it was her 22nd birthday, so she was older.
So she was older. Okay. Was her party?
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah. And so were the people at this party were people that Noah was hung out with before from his high school, or was it a different group of friends?
It was a mix.
Because he was 19?
Yeah.
So yeah, these girls were older.
There
And
were there were two girls there that were about 22. There were a handful of kids from Texas that were older, and then everybody else from the party were 19 and under.
The 16-year-old in question that he wanted to bring to Rocklahoma with us, he was at the party.
Did he have anything to say? Did he know anything, or?
I have not talked to him. As far as I know, all he's really said is he is asleep.
the guys from Texas, I mean, you said they were older, and how close is it to the Texas county line, the Texas state line, from where that party was?
Not far at all. And I mean, it makes sense that some Texas kids would be there. I mean, just you're in TERRAL, Red River's just a couple minutes away. I think these kids were from Bowie or something like that, and so it's very common for people around here in southwestern Oklahoma to mingle with kids from Texas.
Yeah,
Interesting.
it's near Wichita Falls.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Near Wichita Falls.
Yes.
Yeah, interesting. Where they said Molly and Colt ran off to when
Yeah.
they went missing. I don't know. There's definitely something going on here. My instinct is telling me there's a lot more here than we know.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, I hope that one of these kids decides to tell what they know, because it feels like you don't have all the information.
I mean, I'm curious. I mean, and you teach at the high school that he went to, correct, Dalen?
I did last year. This year, I'm teaching in the middle school.
Oh, okay. All right. So at that, I would imagine that you would hear some chatter, even through if you're working in the middle school, because I'm sure you know most of the staff at the high school, and I'm sure this is pretty much on everybody's brain. And so if someone heard something, it would get back to you, I would imagine.
Yeah. So from the teacher's perspective, they've kind of just told me that when everything went down, early September, that whole month was just silence in the high school. Just echoing the loss and presence that Noah had in the community. And then since then, people, when they talk about him, they just say the good things, So there have been a couple of rumors around the community of friends that were there, that sort of thing. And I've been trying to track those down. It's one of those hard things though, because one kid says something and then I'll follow up with it, and it leads me to 7 other people, and then finally comes to an end that it was just a wild goose egg chase. So
Yeah. Well, that's going to happen.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, you got to
make sure that every lead and tip you get, don't dismiss anything.
document everything.
We've seen this so much with when Paula had to do this on her own, thousands of tips and leads and things, and a lot of them consistent.
And they circle back
And
sometimes.
they do. So if you
They may
make a
not-
list of those tips and kind of cross-reference them and see which pieces are connecting, you can get a bigger picture.
Yeah. Just making sure you document everything. Because here's the thing. I mean, they're law enforcement will document some things, but they won't document everything. And even the private investigators too. So when you hear stuff, just due diligence, make sure you just keep a notebook, or, just send yourself an email so it's time stamped if someone sends you a tip or something like that, and just keep all those together, because you never know where they're going to lead to. And that's usually what you have to do in order to kind of track things down, and also to vet out these rumors, because we have binders and binders of tips in this office, 3-inch of tips, and we go through them all the time. And sometimes we went through them, and it's been over 10 years now, and we found something that we didn't see before, and found out something about Colt's arrest record prior to him going missing. So you never know what you can find. But just it's great that you have these people helping you, and and the private investigators. I think that's really smart, especially because the everybody's fallible, and not putting anything against the law enforcement, but they have other things. It's a job for them, and they have other cases, and they have other things they have to focus on. And sometimes, they don't have the bandwidth to take care of it in the right way. And, I guarantee you that they're doing everything in their power to solve this case, but it doesn't hurt to have help.
I did tell Dalen though, it'll drive you crazy. It will drive you crazy just chasing all these rumors down. There was a point where I was like, all right, I'm done. I can't do this anymore because it'll drive you crazy.
Yeah. Yeah, you have to take care of yourself. You can't go down the rabbit hole every day. Paula did that. She still sometimes does it. I'll be on the phone with her for 3 hours going over something. But let us know how we can help. We'd love to talk to the medical examiner if that's possible. I mean, I think that, we're a new set of eyes and we have experience with this kind of stuff. We might be able to see things you don't see, but let us know what we can do to help. We can continue to talk about it on the podcast and do, more episodes to kind of keep it out there. The more you keep it out there, the more people start talking, keep talking. You've been in the news online. That's great. We just want to keep that going. So it keeps the pressure on everything to keep moving.
Yeah. You don't want them to forget about this. And if you have anybody else who wants to talk to us, I know Levi sent me someone else, and then anybody else who wants to share their experience with Noah. And because you never know who's going to kind of say something that's going to jar someone who knows something, because that happens a lot. After every podcast we've had on with Paula and Paula's case with Molly and Colt, we get tips
all the time,
like literally that day after it airs, and that area, that community is like they're all good people down there, and they want to find out what's going on, and they want to support you.
And the same with you guys. Everybody wants to find out what happened so that you guys can have some peace. It's really hard to have peace when you don't know what happened.
Yeah.
Yeah, because when you don't know what happens, you start to play all these different scenarios in your head, and it's rough. It's very
awful.
Rough.
It makes it hard to trust because, Dalen and I, we have to see a lot of these kids and a lot of their parents, and, we have to see them in the community all the time. And you don't want to place blame on somebody that doesn't know anything, but then we don't know who knows anything and who doesn't.
Right.
But it makes it very hard to trust.
Absolutely. I mean, no one wants to blame an innocent person for anything, but if you do know something, you have to have a heart and you have to tell the truth, because you can't watch families suffer like this. I know it's hard to tell the truth, but you have to.
And I can't believe that if it was an accident, why wouldn't you come forward? I mean, it's an accident.
If it was a hit and run, let's just hypothetically say that's true. Who's the person that hit him? I mean, I think that person, we've seen this happen with hit and runs. Like they get scared, they leave, but then they come back and they say, okay, it was me. I did it. I was drunk or whatever. But
based upon the medical examiner's report, it doesn't look like that. I think there would be a lot more damage to the body, even if he was hit by a car, not let alone if it was a tractor trailer. I mean, that's a whole nother thing. I mean, it'd be a lot of damage.
Well,
but even if a car,
on the tractor trailer, when they're going highway speeds like that, there's that suction. So like when you're in a tractor trailer, you kind of feel it suck you in. Well, a small body compared to a vehicle, it's going to suck you under.
Right. I also think that speed at that time of the day and those roads, people are going so fast. It just seems like they would be able to say without a doubt, yes, this was a hit and run if it was.
Unless they didn't see him and then it was dark out and then.
I'm just saying with the injuries from the medical report, it just doesn't seem like it aligns with it being a hit and run from what I've seen.
Well, no debris there.
No, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah, there was no.
Even if you hit a deer at that speed, right? Because it's the middle. It's still 5 o'clock in the morning. There's nobody out there. People are weird drive out there. People do 90 miles an hour. It's like flying. Even if you hit an animal, you would have some damage to your truck or your car or something.
Well, there was no there was no lower body injury. So if it was a car, it's gonna sweep his feet out from underneath him. And then go back. If you hit a large bird, even, I mean, a deer is pretty heavy, but if you hit a large bird, that's gonna do a lot of damage to your car. And so it just doesn't make sense to claim that it was a hit and run with no skid marks on the ground. So, think about it, if you see, even if you look away and then you look back to the road and there's something in front of you, you're going to slam on your brakes. So There was no skid marks. There was no car parts. Everything loose was found right there on his body. I mean, like, it just doesn't make sense to claim that it was him, that it was a hit and run.
No, and most of those tractor trailers have cameras on them now. You know, someone would have seen something somewhere.
Yeah.
That doesn't make any sense.
Well, hopefully you'll get some more answers tomorrow when you talk to OHP.
Tonight, yeah.
Or tonight. Is it tonight or tomorrow you're talking to him?
Well, I was thinking that this was tomorrow, and so when I was talking to him, he's like, "Oh yeah, like we can talk before." And then Dalen's like, "Are you on the podcast?" And I was like, "Yeah, it's tomorrow, right?" And he was like, "It's right now." So, yeah.
So
did you already speak to OHP then?
I was just telling him that we were going to do this tomorrow, and he's like, "If you guys want to talk to get some, get facts and make sure we have you guys are, talking about facts, like, I'm more than willing
sure.
to."
Well, we can touch base tomorrow too if you want, and like I said, anytime you guys want to talk, and just like I said, if there's other people you want us to talk with, and if you want us to bring anybody on for you, I mean, we're
we have a lot of experts that can help and look at stuff and see if there's anything that's not being followed or whatever. However, we can help you.
Yeah,
because this is tragic.
Expert that you guys have, I am down.
Okay, great. So let's talk. We'll talk offline and figure out the next steps here. But again, okay. So thank you for sharing the story with us today, and we're gonna dive into it deeper and see what else we can find out. But Noah deserves the truth.
Yeah,
everybody does. That's not right.
Please visit our website where you can subscribe to the podcast, find show notes, and check out extra content from all of our podcasts. All rights reserved. This has been a production of 722 Media Content.